And what we're allowing electronically,
here.
consultants,
I have-
applicants, or
Once Scott once for it.
something else.
I didn't play golf at all. My wife.
She wouldn't even let
all
the
it was, let you
newspaper
walk
join.
across. Oh, whoops. Like
Well, they're public
considered
lands, so
lands.
on Sunday.
She says that's what the
All
rule.
the courses, actually, all the
They don't
courses
play
on Sunday, they don't play, well, actually, not on the old, they,
I mean, all
First
of
time I
you are
went there in
here in a
16,
live manner. You have one
water,
member that's out
they
that can't make
people were
it in
playing
your
on a new
hybrid
course,
with
but I,
them.
you know, people
You
can
can,
walk just
as you
across,
know,
but the
you
old
can
course,
do that.
you could walk the entire.
Usually when you do that,
Still
you
land.
let, but I wouldn't have had a problem with letting anybody in.
Yeah.
Well, the only one on is Mike.
I said the one.
Yeah, okay.
Michael Klein.
These traps don't really,
It worked.
you know, I mean, the tee boxes. don't really
So
seem to come into
when
play
you
for the
add
pros. It's like,
an
well,
item to the
pros tees are
agenda,
about 100 yards.
which is the
that way.
complaints, I took this, this,
Do you play golf?
oh, this is all how it all started. When complaints are continually
Yeah,
add up.
Let's-
Everywhere there's green,
I mean, there is a lot.
there
that
was
goes
a
on.
complaint.
Yeah, yeah.
We went and spent.
So
Whose idea?
It's okay, you can blame it on me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a better idea for this.
And Mr. Klein is here.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I am.
Hmm. 7 o'clock. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome, everybody, to the regular meeting of the Roxbury Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission for July 23rd, 2024. I'll call it to order. We'll start with Rob.
Rob Horgan. John Smoliga.
Sue Fitch, Kathy Ross.
And I'm Russ Dorenzo. I chair the commission. We do have a quorum. Sierra won't be here tonight because couldn't get a babysitter. So I will see Kathy for Sierra.
Who's in Mike?
Okay, approval of the minutes. Regular meeting, June 25th, 2024. Anybody have any comments for Julie?
I'll abstain from this. I wasn't here.
Rob's gonna abstain because he wasn't here.
I wanted to abstain because I wasn't here, but I did listen to it, so can I make?
Yeah,
a
that's
comment?
fine.
Okay, I think on the first application that Kathy and John had stepped down, but I think Russ had noted that John had voted on it. So if you want to check that,
I can go back and check it and
Okay.
amend it if needed. Yeah, that's not a problem.
that's all my comment, but then I abstained.
Okay,
There was one place in there and I don't remember where it was now. I don't have it in front of me. You spelled Russ's last name wrong.
All right, sorry. I'll correct it.
I think it was Dorenzi.
But the new system has an interesting spell check. It
Yeah.
may have done it on purpose.
Okay.
We'll see what it is.
okay, anything else? I'll look for a motion to
Motion to approve?
Motion approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Approval of the minutes of the special meeting, July 21st, July 3rd, 2024. Any comments on that?
Dana
It
wasn't here.
was me, John, and Kathy. And Sierra was there. Yeah. So somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Old business, Pickett Road. Construction of single-family dwelling. Heather.
Yes.
Hi, Heather.
How are you?
Good to see you,
In person.
not on a screen.
Exactly. Go up front, or I don't know how you guys wanna sit, or.
Pardon?
You want me to sit, or go crunch?
Oh, you could sit right here
We
and,
could share.
Yeah.
Right next to you guys. All right. Looking for.
now, if you remember the last meeting, we had some questions for the engineer.
Mhm.
Chris suggested moving the driveway in front of the septic, and I notice on this new drawing that the proposed driveway is, has been moved, so it's not so steep, and that water doesn't go screaming down it right into the wetlands, which is a as I said before, a very large swamp up by the high school. So you're it.
Okay, yeah, we moved the driveway and we also put wood chips in the front to stabilize, that hillside for construction, if you see along the front. We moved the pool back 50 feet. And we
Okay.
also put a gallery, 24-inch gallery for the backwash of the pool.
Okay,
And I think that was really your concerns at that point.
Yep.
So we just kind of changed a little bit and did change what your concerns were.
okay. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
You moved the pool back, or
Yep.
how about the pool equipment?
Yep, it's behind it. If you
Sure.
look, there's a little square,
See a
that's
little
where,
square,
that's
yeah.
where the pool equipment will be.
And what's the grade on the driveway now? From what to what with the improvement?
If you did change it. Mhm. Which one? Right here, so it goes from 810 to 7. So it goes back to. Sorry, I don't really know right off the top of my head right here. I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it looks like it's an 8 foot, by the counting contours, 8
Yeah,
feet
you-
of drop,
yes.
probably 150 feet of run.
Should look at that. I'm
It's like a
sorry.
6% grade.
Great.
Huh?
That's like a 6% grade, if
Right.
that's what it is, but.
It's a lot better than it was.
It was, it was, I did.
All right, any other?
No,
John?
I'm good.
Kathy?
Not for me.
Sue?
No, I'm good.
So I'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve this as a regulated activity.
Second,
Second,
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to our input.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night.
124 Weller's Bridge.
Okay, we did some site walks here.
We have a new map.
Hi, Brian.
Russ, how are you?
Good, good. The house going okay?
So far, so good.
Good.
Yeah, that's the survey map right there, of
Yeah.
the entire property.
Do you want to state your name
Oh,
for the record?
I'm Brian Neff, licensed engineer. So I drew up the septic system plan, which is the other plan that's included, I believe. Here we go. So I brought some paper copies also, if that's any easier to read.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is. Little tiring squinting in the screen sometimes.
Okay, Kathy did the site walk with John. I did the site walk with Chris. Unfortunately, Chris told me after the site walk, he wasn't gonna be here. So I asked him to send to Julie his observations. You want to read that, Julie, or right there, we could read it?
Nope, I can read it out loud. So on 124 Weller's Bridge Road, his observations were, after visiting the property, his primary concern is the potential for erosion and runoff at the site once the stumps are pulled and the excavation begins. Because of its location, proximity to the river, and extreme slope, I cannot stress enough the importance of having multiple layers of protection for this, and that they must, or they may be monitored and reinforced regularly. The one saving grace is the natural table point downslope where the energy and sediments could be captured, and the information in those calculations can be provided I would appreciate it. So if that information could be provided with calculations, he would appreciate it.
So in general, just to kind of go over a little bit of the house site itself, the floor perimeter levels is a little over 2,000 square feet. It's a 2-story house, so it's relatively compact on the site. I've got some silt fence shown down below the house site and septic area, which it kind of flattens out in that area at the lower level. So that reduces the velocity of water coming down the hill. The actual disturbance area is probably in the range of maybe 5,000 square feet. You've got some perimeter around the house itself. But it's a fairly small yard area on the sides and down below. We do have a infiltration dry well down below the house for roof drainage. The soils there are very good. We had percolation rates of 6 minutes per inch for both the primary and reserve septic areas. It's a lot of sand and gravel in that area. So we do have excellent drainage in terms of subsurface conditions. And you can see the roof drain pipes are going down into that dry well down below, which that is in, more of the lesser slope area below the house. We've got a 100-foot limited disturbance that's just below the silt fence line. So the disturbance area is minimum disturbance within that 100 feet. We just basically have the silt fence going in there. The septic system's off to the side, which is a gravity flow system. So the owners have made an effort to try to keep this as compact as possible. And that limits the disturbance area overall.
On my site walk, I have concerns about the drainage on the driveway, that there's none shown.
Yeah, the
And I
driveway's-
did see erosion where water's, even though it's a flat driveway, I saw water heading down the hill.
Or some water that comes from the hill above goes across the driveway.
Right.
Is the
So there
driveway
is some sheet
installed?
flow. What's that?
Is the driveway
Yeah.
installed?
It's an old wood road, but it's,
Yeah, it's gravelled, but it's not really finished. So it's been used to just bring equipment in the back and things like that over the years. And we can put some kind of a infiltration trench along that lower side of the driveway. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Stone fill trench would work out pretty well. It's a fairly even grade. So any water shedding off the driveway would go into that.
And are the soils that good up there too?
It seems to be. Other tests that were done on the site prior to me were done further up the hill, and it was basically sand and gravel up there too.
When you say further up the hill, you mean,
Well, in the area of where the driveway is right now.
yeah, so closer to the
Yeah.
property line?
Tom Olowski did some tests a long time ago there, which are on record.
Kathy, you want to see this, right?
Yeah, John and I went on over the weekend, Saturday, I think it was.
Brian, what's the elevation difference between where the house is and the river?
I calculated a difference of 42 feet between the lower level of the house and the edge of the river down below.
Okay.
Have feasible improved alternatives been looked at?
Well, we looked at the idea of maybe having a bigger house footprint at one point, which would disturb more area and possibly have more runoff from the roof. So I know the owners were pretty careful about trying to pick out a footprint that was fairly compact to reduce the amount of roof area and the amount of disturbance overall. If this was a one-story house, it probably would be twice the footprint of what it is right here. So they're utilizing the fact that there's a couple of levels and a walkout in the basement, which makes perfect sense in the site because it's a pretty steeply sloping area. So the upper grade will pretty much tie into the existing grade above, and the lower grade is going to tie into the lower The lower grade where you do a walkout, they're gonna be using some fill around both sides of the house to fill in and grade. So it's a fairly compact, work area as far as around the house itself.
Any questions?
Is that the only alternative, like the road,
Well, it's kind of an odd looking shaped lot. You know, it kind of, is a little bit wider at the roadway, it narrows up in here. Then this widens out some more as you go toward the back.
Yeah.
Um,
There is a map of the whole lot,
yeah, there's a survey map that's actually
Yeah.
shows the entire
because
site.
we were looking at it on site.
yeah.
So it's kind of a triangular shape and for
Right.
some parts of it. So you can see it's kind of an unusual shape. You know, the area where the house is proposed is probably the widest area available. If you go closer to the road, it narrows down pretty significantly. If you go further back, it also narrows down because of the shape. It's kind of an odd shaped lot.
The the dry well, for what year storm is it designed?
It's designed for a 100-year storm, 8.25 inches in 24 hours.
Okay.
We had very good perks down there. And no doubt that we've got excellent drainage for runoff.
You know, the problem that happens with, you know, infiltrators and dry wells is, you know, they're designed for a certain year storm, but then the roof drainage can't handle it. You know, the gutter and such, so the gutters don't contain the water to get it into the infiltration system
Well,
or the dry well.
well, depending on, the storm, I've had a few go over my gutters at my house too. So sometimes there's a very high intensity, which we've had like in the last year, I think, of a lot of
Quite a few.
storms that came down in buckets, it seemed like.
Can it be bigger?
Well, I mean, you could put bigger gutters on the house. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. They
Well,
make
it always seems silly to me to design a system that'll handle a 100-year storm, but then the roof gutters won't
Well, what?
handle a 100-year storm.
Right.
Won't handle.
So it flows over the
Yeah.
roof gutters.
Right, it's not making its way into the dry well or the infiltration system.
I think a lot of that also comes down to keeping the gutters clean. I had mine overflow the other day. I had to climb up with the roof and clean the gutters out. So it's kind of a maintenance thing also in terms of the overflow. They make a couple of different size gutters. The normal ones are, not very wide. They do make an oversized gutter. I mean, it's certainly a possibility to put it on here. It's not a big deal to put one size bigger gutter on the house.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's, the proximity to the river, if it would make more sense to put some sort of like drainage system on the low side of the house. So if that did happen, that would collect it and take it to the dry well system.
Well, it's possible to do like maybe a berm on the lower edge of the silt fence line. I mean, it could be something like that where there's basically kind of a trap to catch any overland water that comes down the hill. I mean, it's possible to do something like that and work in some landscaping to make it
Or kind of like a
invisible.
French drain type system along.
Yeah,
the
it's
river.
possible. Because the soils there are very good, so it's possible to put maybe stone line trench. Well, it couldn't go below the septic area, but below the house itself.
I guess I'm just kind of thinking about Chris's comments that, doubling up on the erosion control, that maybe we should be doubling up on other things too, like the stormwater.
Well, it's possible to do that. I mean, we could do a infiltration drain down below the dry well, down below the house itself. That would catch the majority of water coming off the house in the yard. It's not a big deal. It's good soil there. Be a matter of digging a trench and putting some gravel in there in terms of an infiltration system. So that's certainly doable.
So, some sort of infiltration trench on the driveway,
Yes.
secondary trench,
Below the
backup
house.
system below the house.
Yeah, that's certainly possible to do that. It's good soil, so that would be pretty easy to do.
Does the commission feel this is a significant activity?
Yeah. Yeah, I just had a question, Brian,
Sure.
if I could, on the location of the septic.
You gotta
Um,
speak up. because
Oh, I'm
you got
sorry.
all those people
I'm
out
sorry.
there.
I just had a question on the location of the septic. Was there consideration for an alternative location, and how did you settle on this location?
Well, I think the idea was to try to go with a gravity flow system. But I didn't want to go down directly below the house necessarily. We had some area off to the side that seemed like a logical place to go. There's plenty of room there to do the system in that area with one row of leaching units. If I went higher, there's a possibility we'd have to put a pump in the system to pump into the leach field. So I really didn't want to go with anything but a gravity flow system. Again, the soil there was very, very, very good. There's no fill required for the leaching field. Had an inch and little over 6 minutes for both percolation holes. And it was nice sand and gravel soil. So that's a plus in terms of drainage.
Could it be moved at all uphill?
Well, I mean, you could pump it up the hill.
No, but even if you just slid it uphill, I mean, the tank could be moved uphill, and the trenches, looking at the contours, it looks like even though it's a walkout and if there was a bathroom in there, that you still might be able to
Yeah,
slide it
you
up.
could slide it up a little bit higher. You know, certainly things that could be done to tweak this a little bit. But again, luckily the soils are very good for drainage purposes, so that helps in terms of controlling any kind of runoff and also handling the wastewater from the house.
So did I hear that you, significant activity?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we gotta have a public hearing. Does the commission feel a consultant to take a look at this is required? Anytime somebody proposes to build within the 200-foot setback, I'm gonna ask those questions.
yeah, no, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
important to ask
Yeah.
that question. I
Yeah.
just don't know.
I don't know
Well-
too, if Brian.
Pardon, Sue?
If Brian comes back with some revised things, I would think to look at it then.
Yeah,
And.
it's up to you. I don't feel consultants needed because it's not that it's not a big house. It's not that complicated. I do need more drainage on the driveway. For the people who've seen it, there's 30 feet of that flat area. It's 30 feet wide, flat area before the river, before the bank cuts down to the river. And that flat area does provide a buffer between the river if everything is designed properly. If things aren't, or if during construction, or hell breaks loose, the river's at risk. So I think it is a good idea to call it a significant activity. Not so much that the public will have an interest in this, I just don't know, but at least it will give us some time once Brian hears what we had to say, make the changes, take a look at it. We don't have to ask for a consultant right now. We could wait if you're not sure. But it is the prudent thing to do, to just, you know, when you want to build within the buffer of the Chicago River, we as a commission have to really pull out all the stops to protect the river.
Yeah, I'm good with waiting in this case, Russ, for a consultant, because you know, the site itself, it's small, and it's, you know, as far as the soils and everything go there. You know, I don't think at this point we have to jump right on that.
Yeah. You feel that way, Sue?
Yeah, I feel that way. I do have a question for you, Brian.
Sure.
What about in this area here, when we're talking about a, you know, trench or some type of, what about old fashioned stone wall? That's not
concrete.
Well,
You
that's,
know, so that, I mean, that used to be so good to, right, to filter out if you had any extra water flowing through, I don't know, too.
that's certainly
just
the
throwing that out
possibility to
there.
do something and, put a gravel base underneath it for some seepage possibility. That's certainly possible.
Everybody, there are chairs in that
I was just
closet right there,
thinking
right?
too, if they didn't wanna look at.
If anybody doesn't want to
Kind
stand,
of landscape, some sort of, you know,
Like barrier.
that may be doing, yeah, gravel
Yeah.
with stone.
Here,
on
there's
top
just
of
one
it.
here
Once
if you want.
again, it would have to be a stone wall without,
Right.
not the concrete stone wall.
Well, the owner's a mason, so he could. he
Oh,
could-
okay, all right,
So
okay,
that's certainly possible.
okay.
What assurances would we have that nothing would be done? You know, between the house and the river?
oh, you can.
Well, I mean,
Deep bank.
Yeah,
okay,
Very steep.
yeah.
You
Like-
can't even
like-
stand on
like-
it.
but
Yeah.
what kind of growth's on it? What's growing on
Oh,
it now?
it's all vegetated.
Yeah.
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 Some hemlock, so. Going down to
That
the-
definitely has to be left totally alone.
And how about that flat area on the bottom? Is that wooded?
It is now. You know, they put a silt fence up and they cut some trees and just to stake it and give us a sense of what they were trying to accomplish. But it's a steep bank with heavy vegetation. But there is a buffer between the bank and where the disturbance is.
Well, there could be a little limitation on disturbance of that area down below in terms of not making it into a lawn or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, we could require a fence, a wall, something to
Yeah, or some natural plantings or something, not so it's the grassed area water would want to go right down the hill. At least if it's vegetated, it's gonna break up some of that flow.
Yeah, you could talk to your clients and see what kind of barrier they'd be comfortable with.
Yeah, the vegetated kind of a barrier.
Okay,
Okay,
are we good?
Yeah.
So we have to call a public hearing. I need my calendar for that. Now, do we want to do this?
just give you a call or Lori's are here.
Take a look at it? Yeah, good.
So they're around.
Sue, I'll walk it with you because I didn't walk it either.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The meeting is August 27th. Do we want to do it on the date of the meeting or do we want to have a separate date?
I think we could do it on the same,
Yeah, I think
because I don't
so.
think it's gonna be a big
Okay,
turn.
that would be August 27th. So we will set the public hearing at, you want to do 6:30?
Yeah.
So we'll do the public hearing at 6:30 and the regular meeting at 7 o'clock. And this will be on the regular agenda too.
Okay.
So if we want to discuss it, it's on the agenda. And you'll make sure to get the public notices and all that happy stuff, okay? All right, thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, we're going to Bida Week. Minor Bridge Road, 65 Minor Bridge Road.
Okay, this is Minor Bridge Road. Jim? Oh, Paul, okay, I didn't know if you wanted to, if you need to speak, let me know.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul,
Hey,
how are you?
good. How you
Good to
doing?
see you.
About 4 years since I've been in this room, I think.
Yeah. So when that horse died, did anybody cry?
No.
All right, Paul, was anything submitted this month that maybe, I'm just.
Yeah, you want me to get everyone up to speed where we are since the
Yeah,
last meeting?
please.
Okay, great. So, since the last meeting, all of the
For
commissioners.
the record.
Oh, Paul Smansky, professional engineer from Art Holland and Associates. Since the last meeting, all of the commissioners were kind enough to go on a site walk with me. So I think we had 5 site walks total, maybe. So based on that, we got a little feedback as it related to the site. So I'll just take a couple minutes to basically go over some changes that were made to the plans, so you guys can see high level, what was done. So
Would the commission prefer that he talk about whatever changes he made first, or to go through the whole thing? Like start with the driveway and then he stops, so we could ask questions and then I don't want you to go through a whole thing and then have 50 questions at the end. I see that other commissions kind of like to break it up, and I think that's a good idea. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
So you want to
Makes sense.
start with the driveway
Yeah,
and then
we'll start
get
with
down to the
driveway and
house?
Work our way
And when you
downhill,
talk
just
about the
like-
house, you could talk about
Yeah,
what,
I'll talk about the tweaks.
right,
As we go.
because Julie told me she received something at 6 o'clock today.
I came back tonight at 6. I left at 1. And only 2 files opened. Zip
Yeah,
files
some
opened.
things
I didn't
she
see.
couldn't open.
Yeah,
It wasn't for me, right?
no, it was actually through Gail, through,
That was me
Yeah.
attempting to forward to Gail earlier today, what Paul, I believe, had already submitted.
no.
No,
it's
no,
not.
there's nothing submitted
Oh,
yet.
not?
No, it's being submitted tonight. I got her copies
Okay.
and I can get,
Yeah,
I'll
could
get
you,
clean electronic
Thank you.
tomorrow.
and
No problem.
that'll be everything, right? That'll be the
It's
complete,
everything.
this is what, right. And would you mind giving it to Mike and Steve?
Oh, yeah, I'll
So,
reply to that
because
email. 'cause
Julie's
we gotta
not there
schedule a
every
site-
day
And
and-
we gotta schedule a site walk anyway, so,
Okay, great,
right?
great. Yeah, and you'll
That was
take
what
care
your
of
email
getting
said.
that scheduled,
Yeah, I
right?
haven't heard back from, but I'll reach,
Okay.
Steve's right here, so we can coordinate with him here. So subject properties on Miners Bridge Road. The driveway is basically on grade, coming into the area of development. There's a large, flat area where there's little to no cuts and fills. As we approach, down the hillside, everyone saw on the site walk, there was in the flat area is an area that previously had some grading activity on it. So there's a steep slope between that upper plateau and the lower area. So in
Well,
that,
hold on one second.
yeah,
Julie, could we get that map up there for the people out there?
I don't
And
know
you
if
can
that-
show me
Or do you-
last one's
Or do
is
you
fine
mind
for.
going here?
Yeah,
I
whatever
don't
you
know if
guys
that
think.
makes it
You want
easier
me-
for
you want
the
me to go in
folks.
front?
Is that
I
SD?
just thought
yeah,
maybe
I'm
it
wondering,
makes it
could
SD3.
could Mike
I
see
can
this?
Mike
Oh.
should be able to see it up on here.
Okay,
So that's
all right.
fine.
That's why I wanted to
Make it
get up
easier if
so
you want
Mike
me to
could see
stand
it.
Where Kathy is,
Yeah.
maybe in the corner. Go down, Joel.
One more down.
At least. Yeah, that one's fine. Oh. Go one maybe, is that where?
SES. SD3, there we go.
Yeah, you can go there.
All right.
So I'll just point on here. So the area that I was discussing was this upper plateau area that's relatively flat. The steep area that I was discussing is the area I'm pointing to, which is the central portion of the map. In that area, there's a little bit of cut and fill, just a cut on the upgrading area of that little slope and fill on the downhill side, just to make the driveway approximately 10%. And then as we go down, we're within a couple feet of the existing contour, or in the area where I'm pointing next to the topsoil stockpile, we're relatively actually on grade. As we approach down, going down the hill where the driveway splits off into two directions, again, it's relatively on grade. In the area between the two driveways, there's a grass line swale. This discharges to a 1,200 gallon dry well, which is adjacent to the port cochere. So basically the upgradient portion of the driveway in this area has overland flow over a meadow area, which then goes into a grass line swale, which then goes into the dry well. The portion of the driveway on the east side of the grass line swale has been regraded. Previously, it was sheet flowing to the down gradient side or the east. That's been.
Well, excuse me, could you maybe have to just blow it up a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
In the area that he was talking about?
Pardon?
Can you just blow it up a little bit in the
Yeah,
area
sure.
that he's talking about?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine. So in the area of the swale, the idea is to get the driveway to grade into the swale itself. That water, once it leaves the dry well, goes to a new yard drain that's in the corner of a little parking area. That now has a 4-foot sump with a hood on the yard drain. That then discharges and the front portion of the roof runoff of the house is taken to a series of 4x4 concrete galleries, 8 feet in length. When we were before you last month, we had 13 or 14. And that was Coltech 330. So for everyone's edification, when we were proposing the drainage system last month, those were Coltech 330 rechargers. So they're a little bit shorter in length by about 6 inches or so. Those are a 30-inch high and they're an arc gallery, kind of like a 55-gallon drum cut in half, set on its side. What we're now proposing is a 4x4 foot concrete gallery, so U-shaped, so it has significantly more storage per lineal foot. And those are 8 feet in length now instead of about 7.5. So we've gone from approximately 14 of those rechargers, which were significantly smaller, to now 38 in that area. So as I said, that handles the driveway runoff on the northeast portion of the house, the northern portion of the house, and the northeast portion of the house runoff as well. The driveway then continues on the upgradient side, where it continues to come down to a garage under. We do have a cut on the upgradient side of this driveway into the hillside. In that area, we have a stone trench on the upgradient side with a level spreader that's now shown on the revised plans. The driveway itself grades to the interior, so towards the vegetated meadows on the inside of that area. That's captured by a stone infiltration trench, which runs along the down gradient side of the driveway. That then discharges into a yard drain. There's also a yard drain opposite the driveway on the south side. That also has a 4-foot sump with a hood in it. That then goes into 34 4x4 by 8 foot long galleries on this end. So there's 38 there, there's 34 there, so we're up to 72 so far. As part of our prior layout, there was a beautiful tree in this area. So based on the site walks, we modified the area of that and slipped it away from that tree. So it was previously shown to be removed, but now it can be saved. It's also important in this area to note, Mr. Shrinkus, as part of the prior application back, I think it was in March, had asked us to look at the topography and the down gradient side to the resource. We have Camp Brook on the west side, and then the Chappaq River, also known as Lake Willenona, in this area. So what we've done is we've shot field topography from the septic system and all of our limits of disturbance down to the closest resource. On the west side, it's Camps Brook. On the south side, it's Chappaq River, Lake Willenona. What we've also done is field located any tree that's greater than 8 inches in diameter as well. Just so you can see, there's over 400 trees in the downgrading area of our development that will be preserved. We also field located any tree in the area of development that would be removed, and on the site walk prior to it, we had flagged them for removal as well. The driveway then ends at a garage under in this area itself. On the west side of the development area, we're showing.
Here, you can put that up here, Paul. That way. Thank you.
On the west side of the development area, we have two little galleries, which is for a potential water treatment system. I'm not sure it's needed because we haven't dug a well, so we don't know if there's hard water. But if there is a water softener that's used, we've accommodated within our design for that. The leaching fields for the septic itself is also up located along an old wood road that soils testing was performed on. That's in the same location as previous. We changed the grading from the original application that was back in the late winter. Previously, the house was all on one level, and then they had decks at the rear. That's now been changed to be a walkout basement in the rear to better work with the topography. What that allowed us to do was to get our limit of disturbance further away from the Chappaq and save a bunch of trees in that area as well. The drainage system that's located in the southwest corner of the house handles not only the western portion of the driveway, northwestern portion of the driveway. It also handles the west portion of the house and the south central portion of the house as well. As we work around, basically off the southwest corner of the garage, we're proposing a 30-inch high retaining wall. This just acts as a permanent barrier between what I would call the actual living area of this developed area versus downgrading of the wall, which would not be touched and would just be kept in a heavily vegetated state as it is today. As we work our way around the house to the eastern side, we have a wing of the house, which is the sleeping quarters of one of the two families. There's two brothers that will be living together. What we did since the application last month, there's a large, I think it's like a 42-inch oak, if I recall, off of the patio area where we previously had proposed rechargers, which we've converted to 4x4 galleries now. We've decreased the depth of the patio in that area to be able to move our limit of disturbance further away from the resource and to maintain that tree. So now it does not have to be removed. So in that area, we have 8 4x4 by 8 foot long rechargers. So all told, we now have 34 on the west side, 38 on the east side, and 8 at the rear. So we have about 80 4x4 by 8 foot long detention galleries there.
Paul, has soil testing been done in all these drainage
Yeah,
areas?
so that's on our, we also incorporated the full septic plan on the septic plan itself. We also included the test pits that we did in each of the drainage areas along with the perk tests. The perk rates ranged anywhere from 8 minutes an inch to 10 minutes an inch. What we did was we looked at this as 3 separate watersheds. For anyone who walked the site, you'll know that there's a bermed area basically at the rear of the house. The old railroad bed, the Chappaq Railroad used to run right where I'm pointing. So that goes from the easterly-most detention area all the way to the westerly-most. So south of that, just want to make sure I got my bearings right. Yeah, south of that, there's a berm that rises up. So we looked at that as one watershed because the railroad bed is a low point. The second watershed that we looked at was basically where the house is north uphill and to the east of the central portion of the house. And the third watershed was basically the west area. So what we did with our drainage design was to look at each of those areas, mimic it. We utilized TR55, so we came up with times of concentration, weighted curve numbers, routed it through each of them. We did not take into consideration the swale in our time of concentration calculations to make it conservative, nor did we take into consideration the dry well. So we assumed that actually didn't exist in our analysis. So we looked at the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. So I have that drainage report with me as well. And then we also looked at the water quality volume for each of them to show that we provide well above and beyond the water quality volume. Then we looked at the regulations themselves to see how we could improve upon what's already required in the regs. So currently in your regs, I think you have storm events 1 1/4 inches or greater. We have to report to you, and I think a report every other week. And then we provide those reports to the commission. I think it's once a month or every other month. So what we did was we changed it. We made it every rainfall event of a 1/4 inch or greater with reporting on a weekly basis to the commission. So significantly more frequency and after much smaller storm events. So this allows us to look at the erosion controls. So what we did was anywhere where within the 200-foot upland review area, which is to the Chappaq, what we did is we have a row of silt fence in the ground, then a row of silt fence in the ground, then a row of staked hay bales, as well as a row of construction fence. So we have multiple barriers that are in place. So if we do have a rain event, we have, say the silt fence fails, we then have a row of silt fence and staked hay bales behind it. Now, up in the area where the leaching field is, about 160 feet away from Camps Brook, we only have a single row of silt fence, but we're happy to add more. We also added temporary and permanent maintenance schedules to basically review the site during construction and reviewing it post-construction, just to ensure that everything will perform as it was designed. Everything's fully staked out, so if any commissioner wants to go back, just let me know, and then I'll coordinate a site walk with Mr. Klein and Mr. Trinkus as well.
So a limited disturbance will go down the bank a little. It's not gonna be at the top of the bank.
The
Like,
top of the
they're gonna
berm.
have to bring machines, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, the great part is, so as part of our construction sequence, we're showing this to be a phased approach. So basically what we did was we broke the driveway into two phases. So basically they'd come in, they do the first half of the driveway. They'd remove the organics, they'll put in the base, and then the final driveway, topsoil, seed, and hay, the shoulders of the first part of the driveway. Then they'll come in, do the second part of the driveway before they start working on the house. That will get installed, stabilize that, seed and hay that before they start the house construction. Then when they start the house construction, the great part is they can work from the front of the house and where the railroad bed bisects it, work their way over. So basically their construction activities are on the opposite side of this berm, which exists naturally right at the rear of the development activity. So that railroad bed actually acts as a nice barrier during construction, and they're able to work from that railroad bed forward. And they actually could install the wall aspect first, so that barrier's in, and then there's no issue. We might leave like a little 15-foot area adjacent to that wing, just so they can get in with a lull during construction. But then at that point, we have a permanent physical barrier that's in place during construction. And then on the down gradient side of that, we have the 2 rows of silt fence, the staked hay bales, and the construction fence.
What's the, do you know the area of the roof?
The area of the roof, including overhangs, I think is about 10,000-ish square feet. So we're providing about 3.5 inches of storage within our detention area to start. And then you combine it with a 10 minutes.
So a 3.5-inch rainstorm.
Can handle for all of the driveway and roof, including overhangs.
But during construction, when the roof's going on, you know, it's plywooded or zipped or whatever, so it's gonna shed the water.
Yep.
And there's no drainage system intact.
Mhm.
How do you control that on such a big house?
We could add some temporary sediment traps. That won't be a problem at all. Yeah, not an issue. We'll show that on the plan.
so the roof drainage is going underground, right, Paul?
Yeah. So the,
'Cause I see you showing leaders, but I don't,
yeah, let me just take note of Rob's comments first, sorry. So on the,
well, this is the old plan.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's on here as well.
All right.
So on the northern and western portion, we have the roof leaders, which go right into the galleries. This portion, this wing of the house goes right into the galleries that are off the south end of that portion of the house. And then the northeast portion of the house goes into a yard drain, which then goes into the 4x4 galleries.
Okay.
Thanks.
Paul, can I assist you in your presentation by asking you some questions?
Sure.
Jim Kelly, for the record, I also represent the applicant. You said at the very start, no, nothing's been submitted yet, and I just wanted to clarify that comment. You did actually submit an application and a full set of plans before the last meeting.
Oh, yeah, and Mr. Danzer's
Okay,
report as well,
and so when you say nothing has been submitted yet, you
No
mean
revised
nothing that's
plans.
been revised.
since the last meeting.
If I can just assume you're talking to somebody who has not been here as long as you or the commission on this matter, can you just please identify on the record the different plans that, in other words, from what you submitted and what is now being changed? Can I just go through what was submitted and you tell me whether that's being revised or not?
Yeah, sure.
Is that a way to handle it? Are you okay with that,
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Chairman? Okay, so originally at the last meeting, you submitted a zoning location survey, right? There's no change to that. That's not being revised. There were a couple of development comparisons to a 2006 approval. I just want to state on the record that in the interim between the meetings, I've had communications with the board's counsel. She has shared with me her opinion about whether or not there's any relevance to consider that there. And I have advised counsel that frankly, I agree with her opinion. And, you know, we're presenting this without reference to the prior approval. So in terms of the package, I think the comparisons to the 2006 become irrelevant, and in essence, they can be disregarded. The next document from the last meeting, Paul, was an overall proposed main house site development plan. Is that the same or has that been changed?
That's been changed with respect to the relocation of the drainage system in the southwest corner, like we talked about.
Right.
Changing that from Coltech 330s to 4x4s, changing the drainage at the rear of the house, decreasing the size of the patio, changing those from Coltechs to 4x4 galleries, and then greatly increasing the size of the drainage
I
system.
think, Paul, for now, I'm just trying to identify documents because I suspect you're gonna have to explain all this at a public hearing possibly. So let me just go through this. So that's been revised now through 7/15, and that's what you're submitting tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll submit paper
Right, for
copies
tonight. The next plan that you had already submitted was a proposed main house stormwater drainage plan. Has that been changed also?
Yep.
So that's being
Dated July
revised and
15th.
submitted as a revised?
Yep.
I also saw a proposed main house sanitary disposal system plan. Has that been revised and updated as well?
Yeah, just because that incorporates the drainage revisions. Yeah.
Great. And then there's proposed main house sanitary disposal system notes.
Ben now has the soils testing for the drainage system.
Okay. There's also a stormwater plan now that's being updated and revised as well,
Yep,
and a soil group map.
that was not submitted previously, so that's associated with the drainage report. So that
And-
shows the soil types on the site.
And Mr. Danzer's June 22nd report, Dr. Danzer's report, his environmental report, that's unchanged.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I just note those things in case there are, because that's what he will send to your consultant, so while Mr. Klein is on and
Yeah.
if
I
there's
don't
any.
think you mentioned the sedimentation erosion control plan.
I'm sorry, that would probably be an important one to mention. That has also been updated.
Yeah.
And I think, does that cover them all?
Yeah, that includes the revised construction sequence, the now monitoring program,
Okay.
and then the temporary and permanent maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to identify those, so if the commission does want anything other than those sent before the next meeting, you just would ask that you just tell us what.
It's up to the commission.
Right.
Paul, does this meet the 2024 stormwater guidance?
So we started this design back in January. So the new stormwater quality manual states that if the design is greater than 50% complete by March 30th, that the old manual still applies. But like, for instance, water quality volume's been slightly increased. We certainly comply with that because we're providing more than 10 times the water quality volume that's required. So it certainly complies with that. There'd be minor things like
Yeah,
specific
the
types of
reason why I
soil
asked, I
testing.
know about the exemption. I'm not sure if it fits, but that's for a state project, right? And we go by that guidance because that guidance gives us the help we need to make sure things are being designed the way professionals expect them to be, because professionals made the guidance document. I think it's important in today's climate and the way Connecticut is going to continue to change, whether it's from us blowing pollution in the air or not, doesn't matter. We're getting more intense storms, not more rain, but more intense storms. And the 100-year storm, as you know, has been changed things
Yeah,
like
that's-
that.
so that's what-
It's based
yeah.
on elevation in some places, and there's all kinds of, so whether that applies for a deep permit doesn't apply here. What applies here is that the commission understands whether it meets that guidance. And if it doesn't, that's fine, but we need to know why it doesn't. So we could make a determination on whether that could cause a potential impact to the water courses.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, you're speaking to precipitation storms and stuff. So back in, I think it was 2017, new guidance came out where you use actual precipitation frequency tables that are to that geographic location, because what they started finding was, certain geographic areas, like you were just saying, elevation wise, have totally different storm events than say 20 miles away. So in this case, we utilized the NOAA 14 precipitation data as part of this, but I'll certainly look at the new manual and see in what areas we may not fully comply, and let you know.
Okay. Any questions? Ask them.
And then if anyone has any questions in the interim, just let Julie know, and then she'll forward them to me, and then I'll be happy to answer them in advance of the next meeting.
Paul, what's the elevation change from the river to the house?
Let me just go over this a little bit. The house, the basement floor elevation of the house is 226. The water elevations are around 200, 198. So it's about 26 feet vertically.
And you did discuss that you changed the deck to a patio?
Yeah, and we're
Right.
doing an all walkout in the back, which allowed us to
Okay.
minimize the grading. Yep.
So the limited disturbance, the
Dark
mustard
brown line,
yeah, what's the closest point?
100 feet.
100 feet, and the actual structure after, I mean, that's a limited disturbance, but when it's all finished and done.
121 feet.
Okay.
111 feet to the nearest stormwater structure, 220 feet from the leaching field to Campsbrook.
Okay, so, and once again, why isn't it pushed back to the 200 foot?
So this is the desire of our clients who've owned the property for approximately 4 years. They have 150 acres in total. I think there's 6 or 7 building lots. And so the wives have taken an interest in designing this project. And they've looked at it at all 4 seasons and looking at what it looks like with tree cover, what it looks like without tree cover. And that's how they determined that site. And they said, Paul, please go above and beyond from a stormwater management perspective, because we understand this is within the town's upland review area. So obviously that's under your jurisdiction. So as time's gone on and I've explained the concerns of the commission, she's encouraged me to try to go above and beyond. So when Mr. Trinkus had mentioned in his March report to get some topography in an area, she said, get the entire topography around the whole area. And no one even mentioned to locate the trees, but she said, do that because it's important for the commission to see just in this little slice of our property, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trees that we're preserving. And whenever you see trees that could be preserved, please make tweaks to the plan to preserve it. So that's why we've changed stormwater management system locations and things of that nature. And then she said, I understand from, because I explained about the drainage aspect and the concern of different storm events. And she said, make it bigger and better than anywhere else, because I do want my house within that upland review area. I can tell you for a fact, for a house of this size, I've never, especially for a 10-minute program, remotely proposed 80 4x4, 8-foot long galleries. I mean, not even approaching half that number. Maybe Coltex 40, but those provide significantly less storage. So we took her guidance to heart, knowing that she knew it was important to you guys that the resource be protected, and ultimately from a statutory perspective, not having an adverse impact to the resource. And one of our ways to do that is to get all of that stormwater and all of those potential impacts that we have and get it in the ground. One of the things I brought up the sidewalk but didn't discuss tonight too was just her not liking lawn. When we got the original approvals for the outbuildings up above, we had gotten approvals with all of that area to be lawn, and the commissioners who went out there saw she's preserved the majority of that as meadow, except for a small little lawn area outside the structure. except for a little path along each driveway, just so the meadow doesn't collapse into the driveway and make it a maintenance nightmare. And that's just to provide a seed source for birds, and nesting areas for birds, and she wants to continue to maintain that. So in this area, it's the same scenario as it was in Southbrook.
There's one other thing, Jim, the things that we might want, a landscaping plan.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah, that's fine.
a landscaping plan?
All right.
So we can start with what's there, and then if it needs to be enhanced.
Jim, did you get the consultant's, cost?
I've not seen any written proposals.
I asked Gail to send it to you. Did they not send you?
I didn't get it before I left the office today. So by the time I left the office, I had received. it.
Okay.
But we'll-
There is one from both of them?
There's one from Steve and one from Mike.
Yeah, we would love to see them.
Okay,
Jim
so,
more than me.
And we can.
I'm not involved with
I
that
can-
part,
I
so-
can get them from Julie or from Dale tomorrow.
It's a pain.
We can have it resolved.
yeah, I didn't want to be involved. I told them to
They
send
might
it
be on my,
direct
they
to
might be
her.
on my phone. Let me take a look.
Yeah, and, Steve's number I gave you was higher than what he actually put into print.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure you got that.
Okay. Well, if there are numbers that, I mean, it's the commission's decision, right? Like, that you review it and you say that you find it to be reasonable, and then you tell us to pay it. So I think that's the process, and that's what I would expect the commission to do. right?
Well, what we do is we do let, even though we don't have to, but we let the applicant know how much it's gonna be around.
Right,
Understanding that they can't predict how many public hearings, you know, all that stuff.
right.
And that the applicant has the opportunity to say that, well, this is a little high, could we talk, you know, could you talk to them about, this seems a little, and you would depend on, Paul's expertise. But,
Meaning he-
but
the
I,
engineers would communicate directly?
right,
Oh,
Steve,
okay.
what was your number?
I think the basic review is 4,500, and then there was meetings and a follow-up review. Meetings were a per meeting cost.
Right, and Mike's number was 35, and I find them to be reasonable. Does the commission find that reasonable?
There you go.
Okay,
So-
are you,
So the
okay?
total check is what?
Total number.
Pardon?
The total check is for how much?
45, 35 plus meetings.
Ask him, he's got that math head.
So just one meeting then, 45, 35 and
Do
one
you know what
meeting?
the other numbers were?
Well, it was 850
No.
per meeting, but that's per meeting, so it depends how many meetings. So
So do you guys want me to just cut a check to the town for $8,000, and then if we need to replenish it, we just replenish it? For $9,000 or 10, you tell me.
Whoa.
I have a check, so that's what I'm asking.
Does the,
We're trying to move
do
the
the
process.
letters request a total, Mr. Trinkus?
no, it was 4,500 for the review cost and the report. It was 850 per meeting, and then there was I want to say it was 12 or 1,500 for a follow-up review with plan changes. So, but the meetings are all just per meeting because you never.
Submit that in writing to Gail, would you?
Well, you have the email.
Well, I don't want to be submitting
Okay, I can
things.
send it
I want it
directly
to
to
go
Gail,
from you to her,
I can
and
send
then
it to
she
Gail
could go to
later.
him.
And we need
Okay.
Michael Climbs too.
Yeah,
Right.
that was 3,500, I think
Right.
you said.
All right, so any more questions for the applicant?
Hey, Paul, so where the railroad cuts through there, I gather you guys are gonna be doing a fill?
Just slight, because the
Because you're gonna have-
basement, the garage floor elevation is, I think, a foot or two higher than that.
Okay, so then you'll be cutting out part of that berm on the south side there.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, and we'll work our way from the railroad bed towards it. Yeah.
Any other?
I was just gonna ask about what's, between the house and the river, but it sounds like it's covered because you're gonna submit a landscape plan.
Yeah, but it's meadow like it is today. It'll be mowed once a year.
Oh, it's just meadow, it's not grass. You're not gonna see it.
No, absolutely not. So from that retaining wall that had the striped flagging, the black with
Yeah.
pinkish flags down, that's all to remain meadow. Yeah.
May I just ask one more question on these fees? Please?
Sure, Jim.
Okay, My experience, when a commission gets a consultant, he does the review, he sends in a letter, it gets sent to the applicant, the engineer responds to it, and then the applicant appears at the meeting. So I would propose, if Mr. Trinkus is saying $4,500 is initial estimate, that's what we should pay. I don't assume he has to be present at any meetings. I assume if the commission wants him to be present after they see his report, they'll ask him to be present, and we will pay whatever additional fees we have to pay when we're asked.
That's fair.
Okay, so I would.
Commission agree?
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
that's
if we
fair.
if we get a report, want him present to
Right.
ask questions.
But I mean, based on what he has just relayed to us, it could be
Yeah.
anywhere from $4,500 to $10,000, and I'd rather start at $4,500 and see where that
That's
goes.
fine. I think the way it'll work is now that we have a full package, right? And if, when Stephen might get that, they're gonna review it. They're not gonna have any contact with anybody on the commission. I assure you of that. And then they will have a report, which will be sent to the commission, and we can read it before the meeting, right, Gail?
Yes,
Yeah, right, it's okay that we get it before the meeting and we read it.
you should have it before the meeting.
Absolutely. So hopefully so that we can reply to it
Yeah.
before the meeting.
Yeah,
Actually,
Mr.
what you could have, if you, excuse me, but it'd be
For the
great to
sticker?
get a week before the meeting,
Right.
so that the applicant has a chance to have his engineer look at it.
Right, you got that, Steve?
Mi-
Mike?
Mr. Chairman, can I,
Possible, so they could respond and then at the next meeting?
That's the most efficient way to do it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Hearing is in order?
Sorry, hold on a second. Hey, can you say that again, Michael?
Has anyone been able to hear me?
Hardly, hardly.
Speak up.
Okay. This is Michael Klein. I would just like to point out, two points. One has been my experience that a, deposit is usually made.
That one.
You can't hear me?
It's very faint.
I'm talking. Oh.
What is the space age thing?
Yeah, let's see.
He's up all the way on here.
Yeah, but that's a scooter right there.
Simpler in the old days.
Trying to get the orientation there.
Is that any better? Can you hear me?
Think you gotta hold it down.
I can hear you, but I'm next to you. That's what I wanted to do.
We may be able to turn that.
Try again, Michael?
How's that?
There you go. It takes an engineer.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, it's Michael Klein. Two points on this discussion about the review fees. The first point is that it's been my experience that it's typically a deposit is made in the amount of 125% of the estimated fees. But secondly, my fee estimate was based on a review of a set of plans and one round of revisions. I'm already apparently looking at a second round of, an initial plan and a set of revisions already. And so if we get to another set of revisions beyond that, and tonight is the first time I'm seeing this July 15th set. If we get to another set of revisions based on comments, we're going to now be at an additional fee to an additional time required to look at a third set of plans. One, the plan that I originally received, the plan that apparently is under discussion tonight, and then any comments would be an additional plan. So I think those numbers are conservative.
Okay.
It's not, I've never, I haven't experienced the situation where the applicant is negotiating the fees at a commission meeting. And so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. So,
It's still
I'd
30.
like to add something. There's an ordinance in Roxbury that sets the procedure for this. And what it does require is that fees are paid upfront, and then if there's more money paid than is necessary, there's a reimbursement of the amounts not used. And then if it costs more, then you ask to do it, but it comes in at the same time. I think you've worked out what you're gonna do here, so I'm okay with it, but that's the process. And
okay,
it's not 100, unfortunately, Michael, it's not 110% under the statute, but it is whatever the expert has put forth and the commission has agreed to. And the commission needs to make this decision.
So my
Absolutely.
understanding, it's $3,500 for Michael for his up to his second review, not including meetings. Right?
right, Mike?
Not including meetings?
I believe I did include attendance at least one meeting.
Okay, and the 3,500.
Yeah.
And then $4,500 for Mr. Trinkus, not including meetings, and that's up to one review, which would be.
Yeah, I'm not negotiating anything here. I'm just asking for clarity. My view is they do what the commission asks them to do. And so these aren't fixed fees that we're negotiating. Mr. Klein's fee may end up being less. It is what it is based on whatever the commission asks him to do. Same with Mr. Trinkus. I was just asking for clarity on how much money you want the first check to be for. That's all.
Right, which would be $8,000.
$8,000.
No problem.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's
okay,
it.
we're good. All right, any more questions on the application? What about a public hearing? Is this a significant activity?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would say so.
Okay, so we need a public hearing. Should we have a special meeting to take care of two public hearings or? 'Cause
I personally think this one should be a separate public hearing.
on its own.
Yes.
Anybody got a date on that? We don't want to make it too soon because it doesn't give Steve and Mike time to review, get stuff to
Can we do it the
Paul.
week after? Because then that would give me, say they get the report a week or two before the meeting, then I can respond. Then maybe they have a chance to look at it before the public hearing. So if it's 5 weeks out, say.
That's the.
I
day
see, what you're
after.
saying we have another meeting.
This way we have some back and forth before the public hearing.
Talk
to try
about-
to Decrease the issues, so to speak, in front of the highly paid volunteers.
I'm okay with that.
Wait,
So it'll be in September.
September
Wait, say that
3rd.
again. Third is Board of Selectmen.
But are we meeting our date deadlines? No, we have to call the public hearing now, but it has to be held within 35 days?
Public hearing will be, you'll have, right now, you can do the notice for the next meeting and you'll have 65 days. You need to get it started or get an extension.
Yeah, I'm hoping one. I don't want to go through another woods. So a date in September. Because the
I cannot-
meeting's August,
Yeah, I cannot do the 4th, just so everyone's aware.
none of us can. We're all off. Calendar, where?
Fourth is Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Labor.
Yeah, Labor Day is the 4th, right? So we
No,
don't.
no, no,
I-
I have a planning meeting in Washington, so I
Labor
thought
Day
maybe
is
you
the
were coming
second.
with me.
Monday.
Oh, okay.
Second is Labor Day.
Right.
Do we want to do the 3rd?
That's your Board of Selectmen meeting.
Paul doesn't have a life, so
Julie just said that's your selectmen's meeting.
Yep.
oh, I could skip that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
I won't, I
can't
won't be
clone
here.
myself.
The 10th?
10th is open.
I'm away, but that's.
Anybody, everybody good on the 10th?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm away, but, yeah, I'm out of town.
Crap.
Sorry, my anniversary. Sorry.
Can you move your anniversary?
Well, you could watch the meeting
Yeah,
after.
online, I can,
Right.
yeah, I can.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as you watch it after
Yeah.
and before you
That's
do any
fine.
voting,
Yeah,
that's
Mr.
fine.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
if you need me there in person, the 10th of September is probably not going to work for me. I could probably attend remotely.
Did you get that?
I
Russ,
didn't hear him.
Michael can't make it in person on the tenth. He could probably do remotely.
Correct.
Yeah, why not? For the public hearing,
Can you make
should
this-
have things ironed out.
Yes, so do all of your public hearings are on Tuesday?
Yeah, they're gonna be live and he's gonna have to, we're gonna have to set them up.
And what was wrong with the third? You said you didn't have to go to the.
No, I don't
So
see.
Julie's at the selectmen's meeting as well, I think she
that's
said.
why.
That's not me then.
Close to the room as you.
She has to.
That's all right. We outnumber them.
What was wrong with August?
I think there was a request for more time.
Yeah, because our meeting is the 27th, our
Yes,
regular meeting, so that doesn't give a whole lot of time, right? That's what we were talking about.
We'd be sending the plans tomorrow. That will give the consultants 4 weeks to get something back to us, and then on the 20th, and then we'd be here on the 27th. Ready to go.
Yeah, I'll just have to dial in because I'm out of state, so.
Well, that's,
How about later that week? In
so we have
August?
2 meetings that week? Yeah, I could do the Thursday,
It's fine.
29th.
here.
No,
I'm sorry, I don't want to rush you. It's just,
How about the fifth? That's a Thursday.
the 10th,
The fifth.
the 5th.
Planning meeting is that
Okay,
night. They have
sorry.
this room.
And
That's fine.
So the tenth, other than Kathy and Michael being remote. That was the only problem with the tenth.
yeah, so I say, let's go for it. And that works for you,
Sorry,
Paul?
Kathy.
Which one?
The 10th is a
Yeah,
better,
That's fine,
better,
I'll make that work, yeah.
because
no
Jim's saying you should do the 27th.
I was just thinking then we can have some back and forth and get it somewhat settled before the public hearing. so.
I'm good with the 10th. You good with the 10th?
Yes.
We're good with the 10th.
Or the 29th is open of August.
I think we're gonna make it.
Wait, I'm confused, because I thought we're planning the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying, if Steve and Michael get us reports ahead of time, it gives me the opportunity to review it, respond, and then maybe they have the chance to review my responses.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna, if we go out more than, we're gonna have to probably get an extension, which I think.
Yeah, that's not a
The
problem.
applicants would grant us.
Yeah, of course.
We've got a few days more than we have
Yeah.
available.
the other option is you can have your public hearing with your regular meeting, because we'd be the only public hearing then.
No, we already
you
have
have
We
one.
just
Brian.
get-
Oh, I'm
got
sorry,
Brian's.
Brian's is there. Okay, so we wouldn't be discussed at the regular meeting, the next regular meeting. We'd wait for our public hearing.
We could do earlier.
Well, we could discuss, yeah, if we're on the agenda. If-
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you're gonna have a public hearing, you're not gonna do a lot of discussion.
Yeah, you're right.
People will expect
He's
that
right
discussion
again,
to be
fast.
at the hearing.
That's fine, as long, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
And we would grant the extension that you would need to open in person.
Thanks.
So the choice I'm hearing is either we do it the night of the meeting and maybe we start at 6, or we do it on the 10th.
I'm good either way.
I'm good either way.
Same.
What was
I
the
would-
date you were talking about for the night of the meeting?
27th of August.
August
I-
27th.
Yeah, I will be arriving back in Connecticut late in the evening on the 26th. So I would prefer to be on the 10th because I'll be away for 10 days before, prior to the 27th.
Catch that?
And if
He'll be
Paul wanted to
away.
have this back and forth, then that would not be possible.
He'll be away 10 days prior to the 27th of August.
Right.
So he'll
I'm
just
traveling.
be-
He's gonna, Michael's gonna be away.
Right, but it'll be here the 27th.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he's
but
not
he's
gonna have
just
time to
not home.
Get up to
review
speed.
and.
Okay, so the
fair.
10th it is,
Sounds good.
What time?
7 o'clock,
Okay.
live. With
Thank you.
access for Mike.
Join. Okay.
And I gave the check to Julie, just so.
Okay. All right,
Thanks. Have a great night, everyone.
Are you leaving any of those?
Yeah, I was just gonna put them over there. Yep.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, there's stormwater management reports as well.
make sure you recycle.
It keeps our fire pit going. S'mores night Saturdays. In case anyone's. Have a great night, everyone.
Ink and bleach on the s'mores. Ink and bleach on the s'mores.
There, okay.
I forgot my hearing aid.
Can I have one of those reports?
You want
No, I have the map. I need the report.
Oh, yeah.
anybody else?
Yeah.
Anybody else, I mean, it wouldn't really.
But I didn't get them.
All right,
Yeah,
I could tell them, I could send them.
Yeah.
Anybody need a plan? Kathy?
No, I'm good with the.
Okay.
Do I really want this?
We have
Nighttime
we
reading.
have a digital copy of this, don't we?
Not,
Not
No.
yet, not yet, you don't.
Well, as long as Steve has it. Brian, uh,
3 Southbury Road.
I know it well.
It's right in the corner, Haber and Skolnick.
Good to see you a lot again, Brian. You went away for like a couple of years.
Trying to retire, but it's a long road. So I've got some copies of the little plan.
So we're under new business.
Yes, we're on new
I did
business.
this plan probably almost 20 years ago.
You got a paper copy of the agenda?
I have this one you can use. Actually. Oh, that was bad.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Sorry.
So this is the number 3 Southbury Road. It's right in the corner of Southbury Road and Church Street. There's a carriage house that goes along with the main house. And that's where they've had their architecture business and also sold antiques out of there also. So I did a plan back in 1998 for a septic. It was going to be, they were thinking about putting a 2-bedroom house in the carriage house, which then they decided not to do that and just devote the whole building to the, their business and the antiques. So tank was put in and 20-foot or 30-foot of leaching field was put in. That's in there right now. That was put in, yeah, good 20 years ago. They'd like to have the second floor turned into a 1-bedroom apartment. They still have the antique stuff on the first floor, but they've got a lot of room on the second floor. So I upsized the septic. The tank was plenty big enough to begin with. And basically just added some trenches to make the system bigger. I've highlighted those on the little paper copy. So it's an addition of the leaching fields to make that suitable for a 1-bedroom apartment. There's a little intermittent water course that's off to the side of the building that goes down towards the pond. And then, of course, there's the pond in the back. So it's in regulated area.
Brian, Newtown is 100 feet now, right?
Well, they defer to the Wetlands Commission. The state health code is 50 feet.
It is still,
Yeah.
but Newtown went to 100, I heard.
Well, they're considering that, although it's not a prohibited. I mean, they kind of defer back to the local Wetlands Commission in terms of that 100.
Okay,
In this case, I really can't hold 100 on this.
right, but you're saying 50 feet is what it is right now?
The health code is 50.
Okay,
So we're more than 50 in terms of minimum health code
it
requirements.
used to be 25, that's,
Well, if the house was built, I think after 1980 or something, you can do a 25-foot setback that'll meet code. I just did one in Washington like that, an old house. It was built back in the 1800s and, not complying with any other setbacks or requirements. So that's a 25-foot setback. This carriage house was kind of rebuilt. The entire thing was done, in the late 1990s. If you remember, it was a pretty much of a wreck. And they did a lot of work to rebuild that from the ground up. So it's definitely a nice building, and at the time, they did put a septic tank in and one trench just for the people working at the carriage house, themselves and people doing the antiques.
Ryan, what's the access? How are they gonna do this?
They can bring equipment around the, there's a propane tank that's there, I've got shown.
Yep,
They can go off the driveway around that propane tank. There's a couple of trees there and go right into the area.
okay, to the stream side of the propane tank.
Yeah, they can
Um,
still stay 50 feet away from that little stream.
Okay, so that's silt fence, that's the limit of disturbance.
Yeah,
That
that's
will be the,
actually a little bit more than the limited disturbance, but it gives some room to maneuver the equipment around there to do the installation.
does any fill have to be trucked out of there, or is it all just gonna be kind of used as a berm?
Yeah, they're gonna just strip off the topsoil, save that, bring in some sand, and the second sheet shows like a cross section of the field.
Yep.
Bring in some sand to put the system into, then put the topsoil back on top.
What's in there today in the carriage house? There's a bathroom there now?
There is a bathroom in there right now, just for, when they're doing work there. There's no kitchen. No bathing facilities, just like a sink and toilet. So it's a pretty basic facility.
So it doesn't change the footprint of the carriage house?
No.
This alteration, it just adds the apartment to the kitchen, all the things.
Right, it'd be all interior work as far as the second floor. So it's an easy site to go see. I can put some stakes in to mark where the trenches are gonna go. It's right behind the building. Could pull in and park right in front of the carriage house. You wanna take a look? It's basically all lawn in that area.
We have to notify you or anyone to?
Yeah, if you give me a call, I can just give them a ring.
Yeah, good. You'll go look?
Yeah. Okay. You wanna? we're
Sure,
doing-
we can do when we do the other.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make sure I mark out the ends of the trenches so you can see, but the tank's already in there and one trench is already existing. So it's pretty easy to see.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Great, thank you.
Next is Leanne Ann Richards, 11 Holmes Road, removal and replacement of accessory building for home gym. How?
Good evening. For the record, I'm Mr. Houses, licensed professional engineer with Stewart Summers Company.
Okay,
Here on behalf of the Richards for the proposed application that we have submitted. The property, we have 3 sets of drawings, set per sheet is pretty much overall sheet. The second sheet really pertains to what the application is for. The second sheet. We're proposing, there's an existing structure on the property with a proposed barn, with says existing barn to the south side of the existing house. There's 2 houses on the property. But there's an existing barn to the south side of the lower south house. That is in very poor condition at the current time. It's kind of collapsing on itself. They want to take that barn down and build a new structure for a home gym with a bath with there's no kitchen proposed for this structure. It would occupy that part of the original old barn and expand it further south. And then a deck on the east side towards the wetland area, which have been flagged. There's an existing well just very close proximity to the wetland boundary as noted on the map. The septic fields are outside the 100-foot regulated area. The tank and the pump chamber, because we're pumping up, are within the 100-foot regulated area. We are also providing groundwater recharge through the roof runoff from the structure so that they don't cause any detriment and effect downgrading.
how far is that from that pond?
He's, I think it was, don't remember off the top of my head. This scale.
You remember this? This is a pond they dredged. We went
Oh, this
out,
was, okay, yeah.
right? They dredged the pond lately?
Not aware of that.
Maybe it's the next house.
It's the same one.
It is the
We're
same
gonna do
one.
that after, you know, after Labor Day, when all the
Okay,
red-winged blackbirds are out of the air.
The structure itself in the pond is about 55 feet more or less. To the structure and to the deck itself is about the same, 50 to 55 feet close apart.
okay.
And is there any reason you wouldn't push it farther away from the,
If we go, well, the other problem is if you see how the existing barn kind of overlaps with the existing house, we're trying to maintain a small area so that you can pass between the two structures. Right now, there's really no way to pass through there. The only way you can pass through there now because it's collapsing, see? We're just trying to maintain a 5-foot distance from the house to the corner of the barn.
but you're not utilizing the old barn, the foundation or anything?
No, that's all.
So you could actually put it anywhere you wanted. You could slide it.
I mean, if the commission feels that we want it, we could certainly push it a little, reduce that 5 foot down to 3 feet or something, just so that it's easy to walk between the two structures. But at the same time, if we go up, we're gonna be going into grade. Because we're going up, it's more of a hill on the backside, so we're trying to keep it where it's flat.
So it's a larger footprint than the existing structure now.
Cause I can't read that. What's this
This
area?
that's the proposed deck, it's a 10 by 22
Oh,
deck.
okay,
on the-
okay, all right.
The barn itself is about 17.5 by 44.5.
All right, somebody want to go look at it?
Sue and I are busy.
Yeah.
Doing
You
too.
want to look at it?
Sure.
We can go over.
Yeah, we'll go.
Oh,
We could-
sure, you with her, all right.
Do
My
you
friend
wanna-
Sierra's going, so.
You wanna go?
You guys will handle that.
Yeah, you can
Do
go.
you wanna,
go.
Yeah,
you
that's
want.
true.
what would you like to have marked? Do you want anything marked out there? You wanna, in terms of?
Yeah, just stake it and then let Julie know,
Okay.
and she will let us know.
Yeah,
Do we need
mark
to
the
have-
corners of the barn and the recharge system that we have that, because that's the primary activity with it.
Okay, could we just go out or do we gotta call them?
I'm trying to think, I can coordinate with Elliot and should have Julie let us know and that way they're aware.
Okay, we'll let them know, yeah,
Yeah,
all right.
So it's just the pond, there's no other wetlands? on
No,
the
it looks
property?
like-
no, the wetland boundary
There's a-
associated with that, pond area, there's 2 little ponds.
Yeah,
Right.
it looks like it's not defined by the pond. It's off. of the
No,
wetland.
there's some of that wetland flag is actually in the lawn
And then
area.
it's flagged.
Yeah, assuming they're still there, but they were flags in the lawn area, but the tree, the ones in the closer to the pond side are up in the trees, so those are still there. But I can't guarantee the ones in the lawn area are still there. A lot of people that might knock them down, don't know. The septic plan has already been submitted to the health department for their review.
So it's a gym, but. And then, so this is the septic is new to support the.
The support is the bathroom and
showers
the,
And all that stuff in there, shower, I guess.
she has a shower and a bathroom, yes. There's no kitchen or anything in there. We looked into trying to connect
Okay.
to another system, but it just doesn't work.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Any concerns so he could address them before the next meeting? Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. Next, like they do every year, notification of treatment of yielding pond, this is with herbicide. Yielding pond is on Schoolhouse, Topet, I think. So that's just a notification. Rob and I have talked about this before, we could require a permit. But it's a state permit,
What do they treat it with? I'm sorry.
huh?
What are they treating it with?
It's called rodeo, but it's really Roundup, but for water. It sticks to the plants. So we've been notified. We'll move on to wetland enforcement officers report. John?
John Cody for the record there. As far as non-regulated permits, there really weren't too much this month. A couple generators and just a deck. It's been rather slow on that aspect of things. I do have two NOVs, one that's gonna go out tomorrow and one that I sent out last week. This one goes to 1012 Baker Road from Mark Lowe. We had a complaint about encroaching in the buffer zone of supplies and scrap metal and junk like that. Did a site walk and it was confirmed he does have stuff there. So I did talk to Mark. He did get his NOV. He has 30 days to get in compliance with that, remove everything 50 feet outside that buffer zone. A second NOV that is going out tomorrow is for siphoning water, diverting water off the Chippewa River. I got a complaint on that. They're running a pump 24 hours, 24/7.
Have you seen it?
I've got the photographs and all that stuff of it, yeah.
Where?
Where?
247 South Street.
It's Morgado's property with the pond that we approved and I questioned it. Didn't have the hydrology. They were told if they're gonna pump water out of the Chippewa, they need a permit from us. And if it's over 50,000 gallons a day, they need a permit from the state, diversion permit. Well,
I did check with the state and they don't have a permit.
right, and are they following up on the complaint?
I haven't got word back from the state yet. They've acknowledged that they received it, but
Right, so the neighbor told me they changed the pump out. What pump? Oh, they've been pumping water out of the river for years. They changed it out. It's a big pump and they run it 24/7. It's a 2.5 horsepower. If you do the calculations, it's 97,000 gallons a day.
Wow.
So I asked John to file a complaint with the state because they should know about it. But regardless of the state, it needs a permit from us too. Even if it's over 50,000, they're parallel permits. It's like the health department.
Right.
You need a health department permit for septic, you need us. So John will follow up on that.
Yeah.
Right?
when I hear back from the state, I'll pass it right along, but I haven't heard anything yet.
Maybe call
Certainly do that
them.
tomorrow.
They should be interested in this, you know?
Yeah.
I would think.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jim McManus, and I'm a certified professional soil
Pardon?
scientist.
You
My
gotta
name is Jim McManus. I'm a certified professional soil
I
scientist.
know you, Jim. How are you?
I'm fine, from JMM Wetland Consulting Services in offices in Newtown.
Yeah.
I just wanted take a very quick amount of your time regarding your NOV for 12 and 10 Baker Road. I've
Right.
been retained by two neighbors. And they're also concerned about what they've been seeing. And I'm I had a site visit. I've seen what Mr. Cody's seen, and I'm in the process of putting a letter together. And we're just, before the NOV is voted upon or discussed, we like to have our opportunity. And that includes me to present my letter at your next scheduled public meeting.
Well, as you know, there's no proceeding. NOV is not a proceeding.
Sure,
and
but my clients are concerned and like to be heard.
What would be good, Jim?
Yeah.
Is if you could submit to the commission any report.
Sure, I'm in the
So
process.
that we could read ahead of time, so we're not. I understand there's concerns out there.
Right.
And we're concerned too. In fact, when Mr. Caranta complained about the garbage, I asked John to go look again and he asked me to come with him. And when I went and I saw all that stuff in a buffer zone that clearly the permit issued 20 years ago.
Right.
Said 50 feet. Well, he had piles of rock, a dumpster, and I said, what are we doing here? It's gotta go. And Mark is gonna have to make it happen. Now, we received a complaint today from Mr. Caranta, I believe he sent it to Gail. And it's a long complaint.
Right.
And we've had a long night, so I would rather if you would submit a report that we could review, and then even though we don't have to, we will listen to you as to what you find, and then the commission needs to decide what we do about it.
Right. I appreciate that. I'm in the process of doing that now.
Yeah,
And we'll
no,
certainly have it well before your next schedule. When is the next scheduled
Right.
meeting?
Pardon?
Fourth Tuesday?
Pardon?
August 27th.
August 27th?
Tuesday.
Now,
7.
Mr. Carranza said that he wanted us to hire a consultant. We don't need a consultant. I'm a LEP, he's a PG.
Right.
Everybody here knows what. As far as environmental complaints, I would have to read, and the commission would have to read what exactly you're complaining about environmentally. Because if it's oil dripping, that's not our jurisdiction. That needs to be reported to the spill unit of the deep,
Right, but,
right?
but.
I mean, we don't respond to
No, you don't
spills.
respond, but
Right.
you can, certainly talk about, when you
Oh,
see a
absolutely.
55-gallon drum that says lubricants on it, we can discuss why that's there. Has it entered the soil? We're not, I'm not an LEP, I'm a soil scientist.
Right,
You take care of the cleanup. I flag the wetlands.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I flag the wetlands so you can come in and clean it up, but
But
those kinds of
did you do a
discussions.
site walk of Mr. Lowe's property?
No, I did it from
From
neighboring
Mr. Carranta's property? Do you see anything there that we should be really concerned about immediately?
Well, there's a loader parked there. You can smell the hydraulic fuel, and I saw staining underneath the machine.
So you got a leaking hydraulic hose?
Oh, I don't know what we have. I smelled the hydraulic fuel and I could see underneath the machine because it's parked literally on the property boundary. You can see stained soil. And there's a 55-gallon drum that, like I said, says lubricant on it. That's within your upper review area for sure. I mean, the loader is parked about 10 feet from a water course, from an intermittent water course.
John, you need to go out there. No, if there's an active leak,
Look, I was there, I checked the diesel tanks, all that stuff. The state was there. There's no leaks around any of that stuff.
But it's stained soils, it's clearly obvious.
But I'll certainly go back and,
So are
I
you
don't know
saying,
what vantage point you're looking at it from.
Well, if the chair is the property boundary, the loader was parked where my folder was, and I went
So you're
like
looking
this.
from the rear of the loader?
Yes, and I'm looking underneath the
Because from
loader.
the front of the loader, my vantage point, you can't see anything like that, but I'll go back and take a look. That's what-
but can't you call deep?
I don't know if we need
Because
to yet.
the
I'm not talking about spills. We're talking about, storage that's been adjacent to regulated wetlands. Now, you mentioned the 50-foot setback from what? Where's the 50-foot start and begin?
There's a map included in the permit. And again, this permit was given
I know,
decades
I
ago,
saw
right?
there's a
So
zoning
there's a
permit.
hand-drawn map.
Right.
There's also there's also a wetlands permit. Yeah, he said there's a zoning permit. It's a different permit. There's
Right,
a
right.
wetlands.
Has the wetlands ever been flagged on his property? Because if you look at, I looked at aerial photographs, and if you look at the wetlands on 10 and 12 Baker Road and then his adjacent neighbors, the entire property is within the upland review area. So the entire property is under review, whether he's storing
Wait,
construction equipment or
you're
puts a
making
deck
that
up.
assessment from a
From,
map?
I've done work on both properties. I know where the wetlands are, and you can clearly see. Well, it's like I said, his loader's parked 5 feet from the water course. All the stuff that's stored is clearly within 100 feet of your upland review area.
To get his report. I think we just need to get his report.
When he has a pond out front, his
Yeah.
stones piles are within, certainly within 100 feet of the upland review area, clearly.
I think we do need the report, but I think if he's got leaky machines and stuff,
Yeah.
those things gotta get moved. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I think, let
John,
John go out
if
and
you
take a look
see
at it.
oil leaking,
I went there.
You gotta call deep.
Sniffing for oil and everything. I didn't see any, but I will take another look.
Well, I
from a
didn't say I
different-
saw a
sorry,
drip.
from a
I'm
different
saying I saw
vantage point.
stained soil. That stained soil might be 5 years old. I have no idea. I'm just saying you could clearly smell
I
hydraulic
didn't
fuel.
smell anything Unless I was upwind or something, because I was checking those tanks specifically because I
Right.
was in the complaint.
Yeah.
So I was in
So
that. area.
I couldn't enter the site. I just looked from the boundary. I saw a 55-gallon drum. I saw a loader parked very close to an open water
Mark could
course.
do himself a favor and move that stuff out of there. If I was his neighbor, forget the oil. I mean,
It's kind of an eyesore. It's a lot of tires and.
Eyesore.
We don't have light, which we did.
I asked him to
Well,
move.
if you read the permit, he can't store those things. That's outside of what the permit
Well,
said.
that's a zoning thing.
I
It's a
know, it is.
zoning
We're not
permit,
gonna
though.
talk about
We
that.
don't
I'm
wanna
just
hear
saying, there's a lot of
We got enough of
eyesores.
our own rules.
You got a lot of eyesores, and certainly with a 55-gallon drum that's just tossed haphazardly on the ground that says lubricants, and then a vehicle that may or may not be leaking, I think it definitely falls under this purview, this commission. Maybe not the cleanup, but certainly the concerns.
The potential impact. of
Potential
wetlands
impacts to
and
wetlands.
Groundwater.
But the permit that we issued, he wasn't supposed to have anything within 50 feet of the wetlands.
Yes.
Okay, what wetlands?
Well, the buffer zone in the, what, the northwest corner is that? Behind the.
Well, we're
Where the
yeah.
stream is.
But I think.
50 feet of
I know-
wetlands.
I know.
You've got a pond,
I-
we got wetlands that are off-site.
I think it has to be based on the map that.
That was in the application.
That was in the application.
Which is in the NOV.
Okay.
That's what.
Look, the commission could do anything here. It's up to the commission. Okay? If the commission feels that he needs to define all the wetlands on his property, so we have an updated map and we can have an understanding of what's being stored and where, that's your preview. You could do that. It's flat land, so I'm not really worried about things flowing downhill. It's flat. But it is, yeah, it's not my job about the eyesore, but I wouldn't want my kids 30 feet
I'm just
on a
listening to
swing.
my clients talk to me. That's
Right.
all.
So, when we get a complaint, John has the option to either take care of it on his own or bring it to the commission on this NOV. So he's brought it to the commission. The commission could direct John as to what we want. Now, I think it's only fair to Mark to have him at a meeting, so he could be here to hear this and give what his side of it is. And we could do that. Next meeting may be hard, but we could do it next meeting, at the end of the meeting. In the NOV section, which is always at the end. Does the commission, do you want to see this? I think you should all go take a look at it.
Yeah, I think we should take a look at it. I mean, John you need to go out there and take another
Oh,
look
yeah,
at it.
yeah.
And anything that needs to be taken care of right away, you know what to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see your report. Sure. And, yeah, Mark should come to the next meeting.
Is he coming to the next meeting?
I thought he might have been here tonight.
He needs to come to the next meeting and answer to the NOV.
Okay, okay.
And if he doesn't, when we issue a cease and desist, now you have a proceeding. Now you have an intervenous status. We're playing, the lawyers make the rules. We're just following the rules, right? Jim, you've been there.
I just go out and find out what Mother Nature put out.
Right. Now, John, if there's oil on the ground that's 5 years old, deep doesn't get called on those things. But if there's an active hydraulic hose leaking,
I'll take a look.
you got the option of saying, you gotta fix that immediately, or I gotta report it.
I'll go there tomorrow.
And then the wetland commission can require him to remove the dirt to protect the wetlands and the groundwater. So everybody should go.
We go to his property or we're going on Mark's property?
You're going on Mark's property.
Right, okay.
You need to communicate through John to Mark, because Mark doesn't have to let you on his property, right? In that case, then we will ask the Carantas if we could view it from where you're viewing it from.
Which is
Okay.
a good view. But I think if the owner, I think Mark, I don't know his last name, will let you folks enter, I think you'll be able to see the entire, I can only see so much.
Oh, I walked it with John. The pictures that Joe sent concerned me. And that's why I said to John, we need to take this to the top level as to what the heck is going on. Because the pictures he sent didn't look good. So I went out and it was pretty clear that an area was clearly marked on a map, nothing could be stored here. There was a bunch of stuff stored there. An old dump truck's probably been there 25 years. A pile of stone, what is that, a dumpster?
It's all
Scrap metal,
Tires.
dumpster full of scrap metal, which
Tires
shouldn't
full
be
of
near the
tons.
wetlands.
Tons of piping, a loader.
It's all personal property. I've been sitting there for decades.
Well, now the neighbors are mad.
Excuse me?
Now the neighbors are mad and you folks
I'd be
gave them
mad
an
too.
NOV.
You have a big fence in the front of your house, I'd be mad about that. too.
Well, I think the NOV
There
is,
may be a civil matter.
well,
that
right
we-
now we have a notice of violation
Right.
in
Right.
place here, and let's
Right.
see how that plays out. And certainly my clients will be interested to see how that plays out. Now, certainly have a report for the end of August.
Well, we welcome your report and your professional opinion.
Yep,
And we'll go from there.
great, and I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank
If you
you.
can get us the report before that meeting.
Absolutely. Huh?
Right.
May I be heard?
Oh,
There's
yes.
one more thing you need to do.
Yeah.
So I've been I've become the communication center for a lot of correspondence regarding this property.
Right.
I think there's really serious issues that need to be looked at. And I'm glad to hear that that's gonna happen. There is from Mr. Quaranta a letter asking for intervenor status in this proceeding now, where the NOV is, and at the beginning of this. We have a statute in Connecticut, 22A19, that's SEPA, that allows people to be like private attorney generals and come into an action. They can come into a proceeding. They can't start the proceeding, but they can join a proceeding and present evidence on how whatever action is being taken is going to unreasonably pollute, affect, impact the public trust in the resource, which in this case is wetlands resources. We don't have them very often, but they happen around the state. These interventions happen. There's a lot of law about it. There's a whole book written about it, a treatise written about it. Some of the attorneys that have written the treatises have been before you. Janet Brooks, on one occasion, on one of your applications. What happens is it's premature to allow an intervention right now because there is no proceeding. The only thing that's happening right now is your staff is going out. He's issued an NOV. You're going to go do an investigation for sure. If you then issue an order, then there's a show cause hearing and there's a proceeding that can be intervened and experts can come for the interveners and the applicant, not the applicant, but the owner of the property can come and everybody can be here, speak their piece. It's just that it's just not there yet. And there's a lot of law about that we don't do this until there's a proceeding. The enforcement arm of whether it's zoning enforcement or wetlands enforcement deals with the property owners on behalf of their commissions that they work for. And they have the direct, they have a direct communication between the owners.
Right, which Dennis and Meredith, you need to stop using personal emails of the commission. They should not be copied on any of these emails. They should all go to Julie. The commission's upset that their personal emails got out there. I guess there was an FOI, but we as a town need to talk about protecting people's personal stuff, because they don't want these emails.
Yeah,
They're
we can-
volunteers.
We
They,
could, yeah, we can have another discussion about.
all
how
right,
to
but
do
I want
that.
to make it
Yeah.
clear now, because none of them want to keep getting
Yeah,
these
we got,
emails.
today we have 15 people on the emails.
Right.
We had people that were noticed that were Mrs. Grebla's attorney is noticed
Right.
on the.
Graham Stevens of the
Yeah,
DEP,
right.
who I know
So we're-
very well, and
yeah,
he's
so,
kind of like, what's
yeah.
going on down there? I mean, he doesn't want to be copied.
But we can talk about that because we've worked that through with your emails.
Right.
We can work it through with.
But are
people.
you saying, Gail, that we can't allow him to give us a report?
Oh, no, he can give you a report and that report will also go to John Cody
Right.
as part, we have an NOB.
I know it's our right, where I could have
But
said,
until there's an order,
okay,
until there's a further step and it escalates into an order, which, by the way, John's NOV does a very good job of warning Mr. Lowe about. That if you don't come to, he was invited to come to this meeting. I know he's got some personal issues, but he was invited to come to this meeting tonight. He's not here. We should re-invite him and make sure he gets to the next meeting.
well, he needs to come to the
Yeah,
next meeting.
But
or
once there's,
we'll talk about
as
a
you
cease
know,
and
once there's a cease and desist order,
right,
there's a demand to come to the meeting.
right.
So once it escalates and gets to an order, Then there's a proceeding before this commission, there's a hearing.
Right.
And once there's a hearing, then an intervention can be filed. It has to be a verified complaint. It has to set out the facts about what the person who's making the complaint says is going to be the unreasonable destruction of the public trust. It's got to be under oath.
It can't be
verified.
an email.
It
I want to be
cannot be
intervened.
just an email.
Right.
I know the state of Connecticut has all kinds of proceedings where neighbors can come in and put their name on a list and get notice and come in and be heard. This is a different process for the Wetlands Commission under 22A19. So I need to ask you to add to the agenda that there's been a request for an intervention at the NOV stage and ask you to formally make a decision about whether you're going to accept this email intervention, no verified pleading at this stage in the proceeding. Because
Okay.
I can't make that decision for you.
I got it. I thought because, okay, all right.
And
I make
it's
a-
not with, excuse me, and it's not with any prejudice that if the thing escalates or changes, that it might get to a point where one would be allowed. But it has to be done the correct way.
Okay, I'll make a motion to add to the agenda to talk about the request to intervene by Mr. Carranto via email.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Carranto asked via email to intervene on this NOV. He could not intervene because an NOV is not a proceeding as defined in the state statute. Neither is a regular application. Actually, I'm wrong on there. A regular
An
application
application
is
is a
a
proceeding.
proceeding.
So if
But
you
an
have-
NOV is not a proceeding, and only the commission could decide whether to let him intervene. But if we did, it's not a proper request for an intervene because he didn't follow the statute in requesting that, and it's not a proceeding,
Let me give you some words. It needs to be a verified pleading.
right?
It's called a verified pleading. That's what the statute requires, which it's kind of like an under oath. I sign it. I'm swearing to you, these are the things that are the facts that I think are causing this unreasonable destruction of the public trust. And it can be done, but so far, we're not there yet. We don't have it.
So I'll make a motion not to accept the intervener request by Mr. Carranto because it doesn't follow the statute.
That was a motion.
That's my motion.
Okay, I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we got that administrative stuff out of it.
Yeah, I just didn't want it hanging out there. Yeah. You're very welcome.
Thanks, Gil.
Thanks, Cal.
Okay, I have nothing to report. Good job, as always. And,
Can we talk about that next meeting? So we have
Is it? Yeah.
the 27th, so we have one public hearing.
Preston Gale, can I just ask you a question since you brought up the emails? I actually called.
I can't hear her.
Okay. I called the selectman's office to obtain the email. And they were giving to me because it's public information because they're public officials. So if they don't.
It's a different discussion. It's just a different it's a different discussion.
Actually, no, it's a discussion to be had because you're a public official. So if personal emails aren't good, then maybe they have a town email set up because they are a commission and we do have the right to email and speak to them.
Meredith, that's a good idea, and it's something we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna.
And I
talk to
wouldn't
the
have had to
chairman about it.
do that
Well,
if people.
there's no reason to email people on a
I only
commission.
did that because you had said the complaint was over and you weren't doing anything about it.
It's not your right to go direct to the commission.
I didn't, I
You could,
emailed
you could
everybody.
complain to the first selectman.
But it is my right, they're all the commission.
And they all, Mr. Roy didn't see your complaint. He didn't understand. He disagreed with your complaint.
My
So the
email-
answer is no. And when the answer is no, that's when it
Is
stops.
it my right as a resident here to email people information that has something to do with the wetlands?
If there's.
That's our personal email
Okay,
though.
let me say a couple of things.
They were given.
So if, this is not on your agenda, So.
Well,
I'm just trying
you're
to-
talking about it under chairman's report because
Okay.
the commission's
Okay.
concerned
There-
about
there-
people emailing.
I don't
There-
want
When an application is,
Bothering.
when an application is pending, it is not permitted for people to individually email members of the commission and start lobbying and saying whatever they're gonna say.
Right.
And when that happens, once in a while, somebody does that. In the old days, it used to be you walked through the grocery store and somebody nagged you and started to talk about it. Now they send an email, all right? That's the modern world. So the same rule applies, is we're supposed to shut people down that do that and say, please don't do this. I'm not gonna take it into consideration. Or if something comes, you can't avoid having read it, you bring it into the commission and say, but there's no application pending here. That's the issue here. And as part of the public and officials of the public, people do have a right to communicate with you. We have a process, which is, please go through Julie, please go through other people. I'm gonna suggest, I will talk to Patrick about it, that we figure out if there's a spot where people can lodge. Maybe it's already there and I don't know it. Maybe on the internet, there's a spot where things can be lodged that are gonna be communicated, and they could come to the meeting and come to all of you. But it makes people really nervous when their personal emails, well, half the time stuff ends up in spam. You don't want to accept something you don't know the person, or you don't know who that is, because we all have had problems that way. So communicating, it isn't the better way to do it. We need to figure out a better method to do it. That's
Well,
what
I'm just
saying.
making a suggestion that maybe it should be a town email for the commissioners, since emails, I'm sure they
Yeah,
send
and
back and forth.
you may be correct.
And
Yeah,
those
yeah.
documents would be public, so
Yeah.
that's under FOIA,
Yeah.
everybody could be
Yeah.
foiled into
I
their
think
email right now.
I think it's a good suggestion.
Okay, great, and then nobody's gonna feel that, I'm invading privacy or anything by just doing something when I call the selectman's office and got the emails.
Yeah, so there's just a difference between when you can see their work tonight on their agenda was mostly applications. So usually it's applications, in which case you should not be communicating in
Absolutely.
any way individually.
And mine was a complaint,
Yeah.
a very serious one, so I just wanted to clear that up, that I wasn't,
I still think it should have gone. I still think that any communication can go to the land use
Absolutely, it should
office,
go to
and
Julie and then
it
she
would
sends it
be-
to us.
And it would be sent out to us.
But there could be a note on the website that says that.
You know,
So
well, that
yeah,
should be the
yeah,
process.
So it
and
still
I'm
gets
just-
to us, but
Yeah,
just
yeah,
in
we
the
can
land
tell,
use.
I think we can work that out.
I mean, to me.
Don't think that.
Land use
Phone
office,
numbers.
it's pretty clear. I think everyone has said the
Yeah.
land use office is where it should
Yeah.
go, right? Send
Yeah.
it to the land use office. I think
That's it.
we're clear
That's
now.
our policy. We send it to her, she gets it to us. And then if it's a complaint, we read it and there's no intervention on that kind of deal. And then we decide how we'll respond to the complaint. And sometimes, and Meredith, you've made some really good complaints and I thank you for that.
I'm not
You know,
even
the
trying to
complaint of
complain.
water going across the road. I don't want that. I
I
get
don't
it.
either. I don't wanna
But
make
it's
that-
just that after we get the complaint, the pound, we're working on it. We're working on it.
First of all, I didn't
We
even
got,
make the
we have a
complaint. I
lot
just
going
wanted to
on,
show
you
The
know?
water streaming across the road onto my property from the guy who cut all the trees down and ruined the hawk and owl habitat and didn't put out the silt fence or anything else, and all the stormwater was coming across onto my property. So again, I wasn't even complaining about my neighbor. Now he hates me, by the way. I was just letting you guys know that all of this water is running out. I'm like trying to be a good neighbor, trying not to, cause a problem with anyone, but I can't allow what's going on behind my backyard anymore. And if I see water streaming across the road, the first thing I'm gonna do is let the commission know.
And John
that-
went out and it
I'm a
was
huge
immediately
environmentalist.
corrected.
So that's great, and
Yeah.
we look forward to.
And that's the
coming
way
back and
our,
seeing it being taken
that's the
care of.
way we work. I mean, when you have a complaint, you can email me at my town address because Arcadis deletes any emails that they don't know where it's incoming
And I
from.
got your. town
Because it's a
email
global
address, yeah.
company and they don't mess around. So if it comes to Arcadis, I won't get it. But you could email me, but he's the one who runs the enforcement.
Right, and so I'm just saying that I think, other towns, their commissions, they all have town emails. So
Correct.
that takes away the whole issue because, if it's not an application, then it's okay to, talk. So thank you guys. We'll see.
All right.
Here.
I just have one question. I'm Janet McDonald. I'm in the
another neighbor of Mr. Lowe's. And this
It's up
is,
to them.
yeah, I understand that, but this is the Wetlands Commission, correct?
Yes.
There's no wetlands approval for the operations in the wetlands on that property, just to let you know. So I know zoning has something, but wetland
Okay.
has no purview at this point, or legal purview, but thank you.
There is a permit issue.
There isn't a wetlands permit to operate where he's operating.
Thank you.
Late for my Monday, my Tuesday meeting. I'm sorry. I gotta run. My Tuesday.
Motion adjourned?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Out of here.
I'm almost ready not to,
Cycle that.
my thing is up in August.
Huh?
And